House needs painting, grass needs mowing, where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Mossy Oak and Liqua Molly.
Hello and welcome to Off the Water with Hank Parker. I'm your co-host Sarah Beth, and you are.
Hey, we're off the water, and I'm Hank Parker. I'd like to be on
You're
the
Hank
water.
Parker.
What
I
an
bet you would.
incredible day to be on the water. And here we are in a studio doing a podcast when we could be on the water catching bass. Oh, man, it hurts on a beautiful day like today to be inside.
I bet it does. I bet you're itching to get on the boat.
I am. I'm an outdoorsman. And here I am inside. Hey, I've been on a roll here for the last 2 days. I've been traveling, and I don't have glasses on, but the Southern Evangelistic Seminary is presenting Steadfast, and it's going to be October the 10th and 11th at Rock Hill First Baptist Church in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And They've got a lineup. It's apologetics and evangelism.
Yep, apologetics and evangelism.
And that is so awesome. I didn't even know what apologetics was.
What is it? You tell me. Tell the people.
Apologetics is, I'll give you a short redneck definition. It's learning what you stand for. It's they're going to indoctrinate you. You believe something and you know something, but you really don't know how to explain it. And you don't have all the information you need to be absolutely 100% correct. So it's really going to be a great seminar, and it's right here in our backyard in Rock Hill, South Carolina, on Friday, October the 10th and 11th, and they got all these smart people. I mean, brilliant people with all these degrees, and they come from all over the country, and they thought, man, we got all these smart. We got to have one dumb guy. We need one dumb guy. Who could it be? Who's the dumbest guy we know that brags about Jesus? Who's the dumbest guy?
Oh, man.
So I qualified. I'm going to be the dumb guy, but I am so excited about going. They have all these breakout sessions, and we're going to learn about apologetics and to learn how to explain what we already know and give us more information.
Yep. On the card, it says defining and defending marriage and family.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's going to be their main topics.
Yeah, and that's going to be important. They're going to define marriage, and, of course, that steps over the line about same-sex marriage, about gender, and there's going to be all kind of tough subjects that a lot of churches don't want to
touch.
They don't want to touch that, and so they're going to open that up, and it's just going to be a wonderful seminar for anybody to attend Friday and Saturday, October, what is that, 10th and 11th? Come on, look at it, read it.
Yes. October 10th and 11th.
Yeah, there we go.
At
all right,
FBC
now,
Rock Hill.
Yep, we got that done. It's just a couple weeks away, by the way, so get your tickets and go to that. That'll be good. I'll be there on Friday, so I look forward to seeing everybody that comes out on Friday. Not Friday. I used to say Monday, Tuesday, and Sarah said, Papa, it's not Monday. It's Monday. It's
you
not
gotta enunciate.
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. So
I'll
be there
that.
on Friday.
On Friday, not Friday.
Not
Friday.
Not Saturday, but Friday. I will be there.
Good job.
Right, we're going to hit on a little controversy here.
Here we go.
And we're going to bypass as much of the controversy as we can and just talk about benefits, negatives, understanding, learning, defying, all sorts of things that go along with Forward Facing Sonar. So a lot of people don't want to touch that subject, but Bass just ruled, it's been about a week ago now, maybe 2 weeks, that Bass ruled that in half of their tournaments, now they got 9 tournaments, so you can't have 4.5.
Okay.
So in 9 of their tournaments, out of the 9 tournaments, only half are going to be Forward Facing Sonar. So they're going to do 4 with and 4 without, and they're going to flip a coin
on the last one
for the odd man out. And the odd man out, the coin flip went to no Forward Facing Sonar. So I guess that'll be on Lake Champlain in New York with no Forward Facing Sonar, first time in 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So things are changing. They have now shuffled the cards. What's that going to do? I'm going to be interested in watching that.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I'm actually interested to see what people are going to be saying over social media, what the pros have to say, what the fans have to say.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, what do you think, Hank? I think the weights will be lower in the tournaments where there's no forward facing sonar. I really do. But I'm anxious to see that. And let me just say, there has been controversy from the time that this whole issue has arisen. Is that correct? Arisen?
That is
arose,
correct. No, arisen.
It's been just constant conflict, criticism, bickering, fighting, division. Let's get all that out of the way. Let's be done with it. I've heard, the Anderson family, that Chase Anderson, who is the CEO at Bass now, man, he inherited this controversy, and he has been criticized so bad. Boyd Duckett over on the Major League Fishing side, he's been criticized so bad. Let me just tell you guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, this sport is way more fragile than you think. You take for granted that it's always going to be there. The Anderson family don't need all this criticism. They don't need all this controversy. And if they decided to walk away, you're not going to have to take up a love offering for them to survive. They've got a very thriving business and a lot of businesses, and they've got it going on. And all they've been is just bashed. And they didn't have all the foundation that Ray had or Helen Sevier had.
Yeah.
They walk into this thing doing the best they can and get just tremendously criticized. So let's quit criticizing and let's start encouraging. And let's get this sport back to where it needs to be, a positive mode. And we'll sit on the sidelines and we'll watch and see what happens.
Watch it unfold, real time.
Watch it unfold in real time. I like that. All right, well, let me just tell you my personal experience. And I've been fortunate enough to be a spectator. I've been fortunate enough to be in a boat and be a spectator also. I wasn't much of a participant. But I've fished with a lot of the young guys. I fished with some kids that I won't say their names. I've been dropping names. I'm not going to drop names because I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want them to come under attack because of my point of view. So I'll just leave names out. And I've been fishing with some young guys. I've been fishing with some older guys that are pretty good with forward facing sonar.
Right.
But a couple of years ago when we were in Knoxville and I'm sitting there watching this kid from Canada sweep the bottom where you're seeing no fish. You're not seeing anything on the screen. And he's sweeping the bottom, and these smallmouth are holding so tight to the bottom that they show themselves once you just take a bait and just sweep it along the bottom. And then once he marks them, he goes back in there and works on them and catches them. Well, that's crazy intriguing to me. That is something that is uniquely different than any method that I've ever used to catch fish in my life. And so I'm fascinated by that. And I'm also challenged by that because I don't know how to do that. You know, when Dave Glebe came from California and started flipping, and he could put that little jig in a thimble at 35 feet, I was intrigued because I could not do that.
Right.
So I learned to do it. I learned how to flip, and I may not have been as accurate as Glebe or D. Thomas, the founder of he called it tule dipping, later called flipping. But I learned that, and I spent the time, and I was fascinated by it. And then, you go all the way back to, there was a guy named Key Biggers from Charlotte, North Carolina, that could underhand a spinnerbait. And I actually learned how to do that, and I think in some ways I improved that by the little pistol grip handle rod that I used and opening the doorknob and keeping that bait low to the water and putting that bait in the right position and catching fish. Intriguing. And I learned that and was fascinated by the opportunity. Same thing here with forward facing sonar. I watched this guy sweep the bottom, fish expose themselves, and he catches them.
You would have never thought about that without.
Never in a million years would I've ever even thought about it. And then without forward facing sonar, you wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
So then I go and I fish with this kid. And as far as in the southeastern part of the United States, I never caught a fish over 50 feet deep. 50 feet deep is just tremendously deep for the Southeast. Now, I caught the lunker, the big bass of the tournament. Actually, I tied with Bo Dowden in 1979 at Lake Powell in Arizona. And I don't know how deep the fish was, but it was at least 65 feet.
Right.
And so I have caught them deep, but never in the Southeast in the lakes that I grew up fishing. And I fished with this young kid, and we're catching fish in 90 and 100 foot of water and catching them 50 and 60 feet deep.
Wow.
Mind-boggling. I mean, it just blew my mind. And you had to have the right presentation. Just because you got a bait to them, they didn't bite it.
You have to present it on a pretty little platter, yeah.
That is exactly right. And that is crazy to me. And so I learned that. Well, I had a buddy of mine that I fished with, and I watched him make repetitive casts in the exact same place on a brush pile and watch fish move from the bottom of that brush pile to the top. Whereas if he would have let his bait fall down in that brush pile like I've always done on a traditional presentation in the brush, he'd have probably got hung up. So he didn't let his bait fall all the way down in the brush. He kept it at the top. And you just watch that fish. You know, he had target lock, so he put his transducer, his forward-facing transducer, locked on that brush pile. Mm-hmm. And you watch that fish cast after cast. He's making that repetitive cast, and that fish comes up out of that brush pile, hits that bait on top of the brush pile. Therefore, he didn't get hung up in the brush pile. The fish don't get hung up, and he gets the fish to the boat. That's intriguing. That's fascinating. Never would I have thought about that. I think about it now, and even when I fish a brush pile and I don't have my forward-facing sonar and I don't see a bass in the structure, I fish it like that because make multiple casts and fish on top of the brush. You don't let it go down in the brush. You don't get hung up. So
make the fish come to you essentially.
You learn.
Yep.
And then I fished. I said I wasn't going to drop names, but I'm going to drop this name because I want you to remember this name because he's going to stand on the. I said this about Jacob Wheeler also. I said when I weighed Jacob Wheeler in 2 junior world championship bass tournaments, and I said after talking to him and watching him and looking at little video clips of him on the water, I said, remember this name, Jacob Wheeler. He will be a world champion one day.
Right.
And what is he? One of the best fishermen in the entire world. I mean, He is unbelievable. All right, here's another one, Brooks Batty. He's 13 years old. Remember that name. Write it down, Brooks Batty. He's going to be a world champion. He's going to stand on that stage one day and hold the Bassmaster Classic trophy. He is unbelievable. But I fished with Brooks on Lake Hartwell, and they were coming there for the Junior World Championship. Well, I was going to show Brooks a little bit about the lake, how to navigate without getting in trouble. It's 2 rivers there, the Seneca and the Tougaloo, and how these 2 rivers are separated. One's up by Clemson University, go Tigers. The other is...
Continue.
You're a Florida Gator fan, right?
Continue. It's okay. We won't get into that.
Well, I will say this. Clemson's in trouble. They don't have a really good team this year, so it's a little bit of a letdown, but I still love them. I'm still going to pull for them. And I'm still going to cry when they lose, and I'll probably be crying a lot, so that's just the way it is. But nevertheless, I was going to show Brooks Lake Hartwell. And he asked me a couple of questions. Now, this kid at this time had just turned, he may have still been 11 years old, or he may have just turned, he was within a few days of his birthday of being 12 years old. And he started asking me questions as if he were a seasoned veteran competitive angler. It blew my mind. I said, this is a kid. And so I told him, I said, Brooks, I'm marking fish. He asked me some forward-facing sonar questions. I said, I am marking fish on forward-facing sonar. Most of them are 25 and 30 feet deep, and I'll be totally honest with you, I can't get them to bite.
Yeah.
I fool with them, and I can't get them to bite.
Wow.
He said, have you tried top water? They're 35 feet deep. He said, this water's pretty clear, Mr. Hank. I'm looking at it. And we rode down to the boat dock yesterday when we got here, and I looked at this water, and this water's pretty clear. So did you try top water? I said, Brooks, I did not. He said, well, do you have air brakes? Air brakes? What's air brakes? He said, you run Raptors on the back of your boat, don't you? I said, yes, sir. He said, do you have trolling motors on your Raptors? I said, oh, so that's air brakes. He said, you got to back up. He said, if you can back up, you can catch these fish on top water. He said, but if you can't back up, you can't.
You're not
I said, well, I
catch
don't
them.
have them. He said, well, let's go in my boat. I got them. I said, okay, we'll go in your boat. So I go out with Brooks, and this kid's 12 years old, and he gave me a lesson. He gave me a lesson, and he was absolutely spot on. And how kids figure this stuff out that young, I don't know. But he said, first of all, when you mark that fish, you need to, if he's closer than 30, 35 feet from the boat, you need to start backing up right then.
Right.
Before you ever make a cast. If he's further than 40 feet, go ahead and make your cast, but then start backing up.
Right.
And then make the exact same cast. Throw in the exact same wake of your topwater bait, cast after cast. And I'm going to hit my mic. Cast after cast.
Yeah.
And so you watch these fish, they're 35 feet deep. After the first cast, they come up to about 25. After the second cast, they come up to about 10. And on the third cast, they'll bite it. Sometimes
They
it
can
takes
see
4.
it. They can see it from below, and they're like, oh, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'll
And
get up and go get it.
if you would have left the boat where you started
Yeah.
and not been backing up, you couldn't have caught them because they would have come up right under the boat. So you had to be backing up.
Right.
He taught me that. I never thought that. I never considered that. But I learned that from a 12-year-old that had experience with Forward Facing Sonar, clear water, and top water, and he put all that together.
Yeah.
And basically did it himself. Now, his dad, Travis, is an awesome fisherman, and so he has the benefit of a lot of knowledge from his dad.
Learning from his dad. Well, I'd say the more you use something, it just becomes another tool. Like you were saying before, it's just another tool to get the stuff done. But people are learning a lot about behavior of these fish through forward-facing sonar because you're able to watch them in real time, stuff you wouldn't have been able to see from the surface.
It's almost embarrassing. And I'm going to talk about this last person that I fished with and this last lesson that I was taught. And then I'm going to dive into exactly what you just said.
Okay.
So a buddy of mine goes over and fishes with this kid on Clark's Hill. And he said, you ain't going to believe this kid. I mean, and I'd like to call his name, but I won't because it could get a little bit controversial. And so I go out and I line it up and I go fishing with this young man. Very, very polite guy. But Forward Facing Sonar really is kind of a one-man band. I mean, you got that one transducer and you're turning it to fit your lure, your presentation, and you're viewing the fish. Hard for another person to be effective. So
Yeah.
I know that going in. So I'm watching more than I'm trying to catch. Mm-hmm. Even though I did try to catch some and didn't, but I tried. But he caught like 27. He had 3 or 4 5-pound largemouth. He had 3 or 4 4-pound spotted bass.
Yeah.
And he caught these fish in 60 to 70 foot of water, and they were 2 and 3 feet underneath the surface. What are they doing? How is that possible? How do you find these fish? And he said, actually, Jacob Wheeler found them out there in a tournament, and then when the Junior World Championship was there, they figured it out, or a Junior Championship tournament. I'm not sure it was a World Champion. But he said those kids all figured it out, and they're all out there in this 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 foot of water, all just scoping, looking for these fish that are suspended 2 and 3 feet deep. I would have never dreamt that.
Yeah.
What are they doing? I mean, it's crazy. And I'm looking at the thermocline, and the thermocline's down there 45 and 50 feet deep, but there's no fish on top of the thermocline. They're all suspended in the upper 5-foot water column of the lake. It intrigues me. It fascinates me. It challenges me. But if I'm brutally honest, which I want to be, it's not as much fun as flipping that brush pile. It's not as much fun as running that spinnerbait by that buck brush. It's not as much fun as working that top water bait by that boat dock or skipping that cricket up underneath that boat dock.
Yeah.
To me, it's not as much fun.
Right.
And it's nothing natural about it. There's nothing without the equipment. If you turn the equipment off, you're dead in the water.
Yeah.
Whereas if I didn't have my depth finder, I would be penalized fishing docks because I like to fish docks less than 15 feet deep. I fish shallower docks, and I think it's more productive that way, personally. So I pull up, I go to Lake Murray, I pull up boat dock, it's 30 feet deep, I skip that dock. I go back there and I hit a 12 foot of water, then I'm in my wheelhouse, and so I'll fish that 12 foot dock. If I didn't have a depth finder, I'd be penalized. I'd be fishing a lot of docks that are non-productive, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I'd be penalized without it, but I would not be dead in the water. You know, I could always go to the very back of the creek and fish my way out on the boat docks and still be productive. But if I'm in Clark's Hill and I'm fishing for fish that are 3 feet deep in 100 foot of water and my forward facing sonar goes out, I'm done. You can't just blind cast. You can't. I guess you could, but I think your odds would be slim and none, and slim just caught the first bus out of town.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I've been out on the water with you, I think twice now, where forward facing sonar has gone out, or you're looking for something, and you're like, well, I guess we just got to pack it up and go home.
Yeah, I mean,
and it just kind of,
yeah,
you're kind of done. If you're trying to learn something, or you're out there to showcase something, right? Or this is how this works, and you know, it dies out on you. You're like, well, time to go in, I guess.
Yeah, and I've spent 2 years. I've spent 2 years of my life. Every single fishing trip that I've made when I'm by myself, and sometimes with others, it's all been about forward-facing sonar. And I'm not done well. I have not had a dynamite day. I've had a few days I did okay, but I could have almost in every single set of circumstances, I could have caught a lot more fish if I just went fishing and do what I know to do.
Yeah, I know what you're good at. You're good at dialing that tech support number is what you're good at.
Oh, we ain't not going to talk about
He's got
that.
them on speed
get
dial.
Hummingbird mad at us. Technical support with Hummingbird is very patient because I ask dumb questions, and I had to call them a lot. You know, just little simple things. I'm about as computer illiterate as possible. And whether you like it or not, our sonars today are very much a computer, and you got to know all the little venues to open and to go to this. And man, I get so frustrated, so I call technical support and make them walk me through it. But for 2 years, that's what I've done. I've enjoyed it because it's a challenge. And to be completely honest, I've gotten tired of it. I'm ready to go back fishing. I went the other day and I just fished. Man, I had so much fun. I didn't have the pressure. I felt obligated. Working with Hummingbird, I felt obligated to understand the new technology and be able to explain it to the consumer. And so I needed to learn it. I'm not at that point now. I'm not under contract with Hummingbird any longer, and I don't have to perform. Right. So now, and I didn't really know the answer to this. You know, you have to do some soul searching on your own as to what you really like to do. And I had focused mentally on learning this forward-facing technique, and I did feel obligated to Hummingbird to do that. But now that I'm free and I'm not under that obligation, I'm going to go back fishing.
Yeah, without
it, because I enjoy fishing without it better. And now I know that. I didn't even know that about myself. You know, I'm put in this situation now. Now, all right, you're not under an obligation. You don't have to do this. So what do you want to do? I want to go fishing. I want to go back. I want to chunk that spinnerbait. I want to skip that cricket up under that boat dock. I want to follow Andy Montgomery's lead and do my little roll cast and skip up under the dock and skip my jigs and do what I enjoy doing, and going back to the basics and what I've learned and what I've known, and the foundation my whole fishing life has been built on. Not that I'm going to not use forward-facing sonar, but it's not going to be a top priority for me.
To learn it, yeah. It's more, I mean, and that's what it's all about. It's about you getting out there doing what you love to do, regardless of the technology. However you want to fish, you want to bank fish, you want to fish in a boat, you want to use forward-facing sonar, it doesn't matter. It's ultimately whatever you are wanting to do.
That is so profound, and that's exactly, I mean, that's it. Hey, fishing's about having a good time and about having fun. And I have. I'm not whining or crying because I spent a couple of years with Forward Facing Sonar and didn't do very good at it. I'm not whining about that. I just realized I enjoyed that journey, but at the same time, it makes me appreciate fishing more, following the techniques that I learned and knowing what I know, and discerning water the way I discern water. I'm confused. I mean, it's almost embarrassing when you think about, you said earlier, Forward Facing Sonar has taught us a lot about fish migration, fish habit, and habitat. And I wrote articles for Bass and Magazine for years about fish, bass, largemouth especially. They migrate on stump rows, road beds, creek channels. They don't just randomly go out over deep 100-foot water with no grass line, no road bed, no creek channel, no stump row. They don't just, well, hello. I'm out at Clark's Hill and I'm in 100 foot of water and there's a largemouth bass 2 foot deep just out there swimming around. So I was wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say,
eat crow. I was wrong.
But now that kind of circles back. We've touched on this on previous podcasts, and y'all can go listen back where we go more in depth. But we were talking about bass behavior. Has it changed? Have they kind of followed a suit of kind of like an evolution where they've been so overfished, or with the forward-facing sonar, that they're starting to change up their patterns, or if the bait fish are moving their patterns, whatever that might be? Or have they always been this way? Have there always been bass that deep? That's the question.
The problem is we're never really going to know that answer.
No, you're
because
never going to.
We didn't have the technology to give us the information that we're now seeing, so we'll never know that.
Right, no comparison.
Yeah, and I had a guy tell me, he said, would you agree that the blueback herring bait fish have changed the way you fish Lake Murray, Lake Hartwell, Clark's Hill, where there's blueback? Do you fish different now than you did before the blueback was introduced? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Right.
Lake Murray, for example, fish tend to roam, and they'll be on this spot this hour, the next hour they're on a different spot down the lake, maybe a half a mile or maybe further.
Yeah. You were saying a story before about you playing tag with a bass. He was going to a rock, to a dock, and then back. Like, he was almost making rounds. I'm like, I know that they're territorial and where they're at. So I'm like, who's to say it's not like, hey, this is my perimeter?
Yeah, and that example is worth repeating because I think it was very intriguing, and it's something that absolutely I would have never thought.
Blew your mind.
I was fishing with my grandson Boone, and we were fishing up on Lake Norman, and we were primarily fishing boat docks and boat ramps. And I pulled up to fish this ramp, and I scanned it just to see if there was a fish on it as I scanned over with Forward Facing Sonar. And when I scanned over, I saw a fish by a stump. And so I had a little crankbait, and I would have rather had a jig. Fishing lure is a tool, so a jig would have been a better tool to fish this fish on this stump. I could control the bait better and put it in his strike zone more effectively. So I reached down and got another rod with a jig on it, and by the time I got the rod sleeve off of it, the rod glove, and fish was gone. So I started looking for him. I thought, well, maybe he came to the boat ramp. He wasn't on the boat ramp. So I started scanning, just looking for him, and I saw him. He was swimming up under the dock, which was 50, 60, maybe 80 feet away from the stump. So I get in position to go over there and fish the dock, assuming that he swam to the dock, so he's changed homes. Well, by the time we get over there, and I want Boone to catch him. I'd really rather Boone would catch him than me. So I'm explaining to Boone, I said, skip that jig up under that dock. Well, I watched that fish. He came out from under that dock, and he goes back to that stump. I said, dang, what is he doing? So I go back to the stump, and by the time I get in position to make a presentation, he swam down there on the boat ramp. So now I pick up a crankbait, and by the time I get down there, he's already back at the stump. and make a long story, he's playing musical chairs. Boone ended up catching him off of the boat dock, off of the end piling on the boat dock.
Right.
That blew my mind. I would have thought if that fish was on that stump, he's going to be on that stump. I had no idea that he doesn't sit still. He didn't sit still for 2 minutes. He's moving. He's going to the dock. He's roaming. He's looking for opportunity to ambush a shad. That's exactly what he was doing. So he's just moving around, going real slow, easing along, looking for an opportunity to get something to eat. And he's going round and around and up and down and back and forth. Now that gives me more confidence to fish behind somebody.
Yeah, because then you know that fish is moving. It's not just sitting in one spot.
Yeah, he may be out there in 18 foot of water suspended when the guy's fishing that stump, and when I pull up there 10 minutes later, he may be on that stump.
Right.
So now I feel a whole lot better fishing behind somebody. I always felt like if they were on stumps and the guy in front of me was fishing stumps, he vacuum cleaned. It wasn't no use for me to follow him.
I don't think people give bass fish enough credit. I think they're smarter than people make them out to be. You know, I mean, not that they're intelligent creatures by any long shot, but I would say I think their patterns make them a little bit more difficult. If you know the species you're trying to catch and you know their patterns, I think that would help you a ton. Like you said, like you learned that the bass is going back and forth. Typically in nature, when something repeats a trail, right? Like it's going from one end to another and then back. That's usually a territorial thing, is it not? Like they're kind of.
It is a place where they've had success catching bait.
Right.
Maybe he's had success on the boat ramp. Maybe he's had success on the stump. Maybe he's had success on the boat dock. So he's going round and round. And
but the fact that they remember that or have that knowledge.
Program.
It's like a program.
I say this all the time. An animal does not have a mind or reason like a human being, but they got tremendous instincts, and their instincts guide them. From a white-tailed deer, for example, you would think that a white-tailed deer has got the mind or reason, but actually I don't. I think they just have tremendous instincts, and when they get pressured, they don't forget. They do not forget. If there was a man in a tree by this particular holler, they avoid that tree. I've watched it over and over again. You know, you hunt with outfitters, and they totally avoid that tree. They know that there's going to be a predator in that tree.
Right.
And a hunter is nothing but a predator to a white-tailed deer. So their instincts, and I think bass are the same way. I think bass have tremendous instincts to avoid the pressure. As we put more and more and more pressure on them, there's more and more reaction out of instincts to avoid certain things. A lot of people are saying now with Forward Facing Sonar, they can feel that pinging. I've seen some of that make me think, but I want to tell you, when I was at Clarksville, this was just a couple of weeks ago, and I was fishing with this kid, and we were catching these fish 2 and 3 feet deep. In all that deep water, there were 50 boats out there scoping. There were 50 boats, man. They were everywhere. They had a seniors tournament for old people. Bless their heart.
Were you a part of it? Did you win?
Hey, come on, man. Some of them old men were 75 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Washed up, done for, and out there, bless them. Some of them was 70 years old.
Oh, that's old.
Oh, my goodness. I don't even want they hadn't been. So I talked to 5 of them, and I was older than any one of them. So that tells you. That's sad. That's sad. We're not going to go there. I got to get a little fiddle where I can whine and feel sorry for myself. But it didn't seem to bother them. I mean, all these boats were out there scoping. And when my buddy would mark a fish, boom, he'd catch it. He'd catch it. That rascal had some things figured out. He had 15 different baits, and he'd look at a fish, and he could figure out what kind of presentation he needed to make to catch that fish. And it's just fascinating. It really is. But now that I've ran that gamut, now that I've spent a couple of years, and we're back to square one, I'm going to be honest, I'd rather just go fishing. I really would. To me, it's a lot more fun. And
hey, you do you. Wait. Hold on. Back up. This just clicked to my brain. You said there was an old people tournament and they were using Forward Facing Sonar?
Yeah.
There you go, right there. Old people, no excuse. No excuse. I didn't know that because it's usually they say, well, the older generation doesn't like that. That's only the young guys. Well, there you go, everybody.
This was a seniors tournament, and you occupy and talk.
Yep.
Thorn.
Yep.
Sit.
We'll cut that out.
My dog is chewing on my turkey beards, and I'm not going to tolerate that. So
nope.
I apologize for that brief interruption, but I got a hard-headed lab. I call him Knucklehead. And so
He knows you're talking about him too.
knows
If only y'all could see his face right now.
he knows I love him. A good dog trainer gives commands, and I give suggestions. So he doesn't listen to me because I don't make him listen. I don't spank his little hiney, and he's back over here with us now. But nevertheless, we did have a bunch of guys that were 60 and above. I think that was the limit. You had to be 60 years old or older to fish this event. And there were about, I don't know, there were a lot of boats, 50 or 60 boats, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that's the number. And they were all over 60 years old, and I would say at least half of them had Forward Facing Sonar.
Fair enough. Hey, that's that retirement money coming in.
Yeah. Well, you know, my partner that I fished with, and I'm thinking whether I should reveal his name or not, but my partner that I fished with, he could catch them anyway. He can catch them throwing a buzz bait. He can catch them on a spinner bait. He can catch them on a jet. He can catch them any way he wanted to catch them. Mm-hmm. He's well versed. He's not a one method guy, but he spends all his time on Forward Facing Sonar. So I asked him about that, and he said, "I've kept up with every tournament that I can get data on Clarks Hill this year. Yep. There's been like 70 tournaments, if I remember correctly. There had been like 70 tournaments that year. He said all but one has been won on Forward Facing Sonar. All but one. You cannot win without using Forward Facing Sonar. And that particular tournament was a one-day tournament. There have been no multiple-day tournaments that he knew of on Clarks Hill that were not won outside of Forward Facing Sonar.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. And you look at that on a national level, you look at that, and it pretty much holds true. The tournaments have been dominated, if not exclusively caught on Forward Facing Sonar. At least a part of that limit every day was caught with Forward Facing Sonar. So I don't know. I feel sorry for Board Duckett. I feel sorry for Chase Anderson having to make decisions. I feel sorry for the anglers that are caught up in the controversy, but I don't know how you just take technology off the table. No. And I'm quick to agree it's taking the fun out of fishing. So all these regulations, it's a trial and error.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this unfolds. I'm actually interested to see how this is going to play out, if it's going to make both sides of the party happy, because I feel like there's not really too much else he can do to make everybody happy. I think splitting it was a right decision to make.
And I think that's probably true. It's hard to make people that are unhappy happy. Yeah. And there are a lot of unhappy people out there.
Well, if it's not Forward Facing Sonar to complain about, it'll be something else. Well, I mean, that's just down to the person.
I always got mad because you couldn't Uber Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kremes to the boat.
Yeah, true.
And we need an Uber boat. But it's really fun to be a part of all the transitional years, techniques, methods that have come along. You know, when I first started fishing, it wasn't that much of a variety of baits. There wasn't a variety of techniques or method. You had deep water fishing or shallow water fishing.
Right.
You had spinnerbait, topwater, plastic worm. Jig didn't come along until I had been fishing for 10 or 12 years before I ever knew what a live rubber jig was.
Yep.
And so you had to make a decision. Well, I'm going to fish with a crankbait. I'm going to fish with spinnerbait. I'm going to fish with a worm.
Right.
And so then here comes along all these things. I remember David Glebe, the first time I met David Glebe, and I knew about Dee Thomas. I knew about Dee's track record. I knew that he came to Bull Shoals Lake in Flippin, Arkansas from California. I knew he borrowed a boat from Forest Wood, and he went out and dominated and won that tournament, his first tournament ever, and bass, and he won that thing. And the buzz was out that how he was flipping, but I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. So I met Dave Glebe about 1975 or 6 down at Lake Okeechobee in Florida, And I knew immediately he was from California when I met him because it was about 4:30 in the morning. He had his sunglasses on.
Yeah.
So I knew he was a cool dude. And
no.
I felt sorry for him. I looked in his boat, and all he had like 5 7.5 foot rods. I thought, bless his heart, we're not surf fishing. You know, back in those days, it was pistol grips and 5.5 footers. And he's got all these big 7.5 foot flipping sticks, and that's all he's got. So I thought, man,
I know in the back of your head, you're like, get a load of this guy.
He's deep sea fishing. Well, we had a cold front before that tournament took off, you know, before it started. And I was fishing in a place called the Monkey Box, and I saw Glebe. And bless his heart, he didn't know any better. He was pulled up. There's a grass there called peppergrass. He'd be pulled up on these peppergrass beds right on top of the fish with them big old surf rods, you know. And I thought, bless his heart.
No, that's a Southern way of saying, I feel so sorry for you.
Yeah, I did. He's going to get killed, man. He's a California boy. He ain't got a clue. Well, he came in the first day, led the tournament by about 14 pounds. He went on to win it 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 day total for 95 pounds and 12 ounces. So I realized real quick I had to eat a lot of crow. He had something figured out, and he was just taking that flipping stick and putting that little jig down in the hole in that peppergrass, and he wore them out.
Wow.
So that was intriguing. That's a whole new technique. And so all through my career, you know, when David Fritz, when they came out with crankbaits that run 20 feet deep, and we were putting lead in them and doing all that was a new technique, a new method. And man, we caught fish. When the buzzbait first came out, that was something nobody had ever seen before. A buzzbait to run on the surface, and I thought they got to outlaw this thing because it's going to catch every fish in the lake. You know, we're going to wipe the population out.
That's what everyone said about Forward Facing too.
That's right.
Same argument.
We've been through this over and over and over again,
right.
And so now we're in a new phase, a new era. And I will admit, people say, "Now you're telling me that a buzzbait was as impactful as Forward Facing Sonar?" No, it's not. Nothing has been as impactful and change things as dramatically as Forward Facing Sonar.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I mean, it is. People say, well, the mapping's changed things. Yeah, I love the mapping. The mapping has made navigation a lot safer as well. But it's really helped me find and pinpoint underwater structure, so it has improved. Side imaging, down imaging, all of that has been a huge complement to the arsenal that you have and you use to catch fish.
Right. Okay.
But nothing like live sonar. It is a complete, total, rearranging game changer. So I will admit that. A lot of people say, well, you said a buzzbait was going to catch every fish, and it's just as bad as, I didn't say it was as bad as Forward Facing Sonar, as good as Forward Facing Sonar, however you look at it.
Yeah.
It was pretty impactful at the time it was introduced. And so on down the line with a live rubber jig. Oh my goodness, how many fish were caught on a jig when we finally figured that live rubber jig out. So on and on and on, we've seen all the changes, and it's been a great ride to be a part of that. You know, I tell everybody, when Ray Scott had that first tournament at Beaver Lake in 1968, at least half the field had tiller handles. Mm-hmm. There were no depth finders other than Lowrance had a little green box, and it was portable with suction cups for the transducer. About half the field had one and half the field didn't. Mm-hmm. So that's where we've come from to where we are today, when a guy's got $65,000 worth of electronics on his boat. You can push a button and your troll motor will hold you in one spot. You know, it's crazy about all the technology that has happened, but it's been fun to walk that. It's been fun to watch all these ground-shaking, innovative methods and techniques and now equipment that we have. So we talk about Forward Facing Sonar. I don't talk about it in a negative or positive light. You decide
Neutral.
whether it's positive or negative. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I like the challenge, and quickly I agree with anybody that's ever been a part of me with Forward Facing Sonar. I stink. I'm just not very good at it, but I like fishing. and I'm going to stick with fishing. And so this year, I'm going to go more back to my roots than than I've been for the last couple of years, and I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about getting to go fishing and do what I love to do. And
all you heard was fishing, and I think you're excited anyway.
Well, I like to fish.
I don't think it matters what kind of fishing.
I've always liked to fish. You know, I'm more alive when I'm fishing.
You don't say.
Yeah, I am. I just enjoy.
You're going to outlive everybody.
Well, if the days that you fish don't count against you, look at dance. I mean, look at Tommy Martin, look at Roland Martin, look at Guy Aker. These guys are 85, 86, and Guy's almost 87 years old.
Still back in their boat, getting everything.
Man,
that's hard work.
After it.
That is hard work, too. As you know, I've been out there with you several times now, back in the boat. I mean, it really is a lot of work to get a boat in the water, to get it out of the water. It takes time. It's not something you can just do and, like, snap your fingers, you know. All that takes time. Getting your rods prepared, your baits prepared. You're prepping 2 to 3 days before you're leaving for a trip.
Yeah,
so it's a lot.
Those guys, hey, man, to be in your middle 80s and still be at it hot and heavy. I called Bill Jr. one day. This was about 2 years ago. Bill was about 84 years old. I called Bill Jr. one day, and I said, I tried to call Bill Dance himself, and I couldn't get a hold of him. So I called Bill Jr. I said, "Where's your dad?" He said, "He's down there on the lake."
Yeah.
I said, "Is it as hot in Memphis as it is here in South Carolina?" He said, "I think the heat index today is going to be well up over 100. I said, "Well, who's your dad fishing with?" He said, "Oh, he's fishing by himself." Fishing by himself? Well, what time did he put his boat in the water? He was down there before daylight. I said, "Well, have him call me." It was about noon. I said, "Have him call me as soon as he comes off the water." He said, "Oh, he won't come off the water till dark."
That's
I
you.
said, "You telling me
That's
that 84-year-old rascal has flipped off at daylight on 100-degree plus in the 100-plus temperature index, and he's going to fish all day long by himself. He don't have anybody he's got to entertain. He's just down there having fun."
I didn't know he had a Bill Jr. Wait, okay.
Oh, yeah, he's got a Jr.
Who copied who? You have a Hank Jr. and he's got Bill Jr.
I would say he copied me, even though he's a little older, and Bill Dance Jr. is older than Hank Parker Jr.
Well, then I'd say you copied him.
Oh, you would?
Yeah, I would.
Well, I didn't copy anybody.
No, I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm not a copycat.
I don't know about that.
Copycat. I'm not a copycat.
We'll see about that. Yeah. We'll leave that up to you guys.
I got caught copying one time in school, and my philosophy was it was better to cheat than to repeat. That didn't go over too good. So
I'd say not.
That was BC.
That was BC?
Yeah, before Christ. That was before I got saved when I was cheating.
When was this? Back in the late 1800s or early 1900s? You're
going to be like Timmy. My son asked me one day, he said, "Papa, Daddy, Daddy, when you was a little boy, did they have wheels?" Yeah.
That's terrible.
It was terrible. I said, "Yeah, but they're made out of stone, you know."
Yeah, Flintstones.
Yeah, Fred.
Did your feet stick out the bottom?
Fred and I was in the same bass club.
Yeah, I bet you were.
That's right.
Bet you were too. Well, hey, anyways, as we close out today's episode, make sure you go down to the description below and go check out our links to our social pages. We want to say a huge thank you to our sponsors, Mossy Oak and Liquid Molly.
Yep, and we want to talk about Mossy Oak Properties and Mossy Oak Native Nurseries. They're very important to us, and we appreciate their support. Liquid Molly is something you need to check out. Go to the website. How do they find Liquid Molly?
You can find the links to everything down in the description below.
Yep, and don't forget about this Steadfast on 10th and 11th at Rock Hill First Baptist Church, Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'll be there on Friday. Come and see me. We're going to have fun. We're going to learn some things. It's going to be awesome. So, Sarah Beth, tell them goodbye. With all that being said, bye. See you guys next week. All right, and I'm going to say God bless you, and I'll see you next time. I'm Hank Parker. I'm Hank Parker.